Welcome. We're going to go ahead and get started. Nice to see everyone, and thanks for coming. Hi. You are in a panel on academic support and wellness. Hopefully that is where you would like to be. My name is Emily Bruce. I am the Director of Inclusion and Wellness in the Student Services Office here at Berkeley Law. I also teach a one-unit short course here called Mindfulness, Self-Care, and Belonging in the Legal Profession. My colleagues with me here are Chelsea Yuan, who is also in the Student Services Office as our Director of Accessible Education. I had like a momentary, yeah. and Professor DiGennaro, who directs our academic skills program. So the purpose of our panel is to talk a little bit about how you might manage stress and maintain your well-being during law school, where you can go for help when you need it at Berkeley Law for things like academics and well-being in general. And so we thought we'd start off with something interactive. We have a poll for you. Very simple. We would like to know how you're feeling today. Go ahead and, if you have access to something that can take a QR code.
And I believe you can type in a word or you can put in an emoji. When we tested it out earlier, an emoji worked. So you can see.
Oh. So what happens to you?
There we go. Yeah, awesome. Thank you. Yay! Oh, I like the zombie
Wow, there's
eyes
a lot
one.
of emojis.
Oh, I don't know the zombie eyes
Oh,
one.
yes. Love it.
That's adorable.
I love how I love that people are willing to be a little honest and vulnerable too. Like people are excited and people are feeling a little shy and a little overwhelmed. People are feeling grateful and blessed, and I'm not sure how to interpret if that's like a sigh of relief or like but it's still good. People have a range of feelings today at Admitted Students Weekend. I think it's probably fair to say that at some point during law school, you will be feeling probably all of these things, but for sure, some of the feelings are going to be stressful. Some of the feelings are going to be a little harder because it's just, you'll be stretching yourself, right? And that is always a little uncomfortable. And so we wanted to just start with an exercise, teach you a little portable practice, a skill you can take with you, whether you come to Berkeley Law or you go somewhere else, and some of you have probably done this before. We do, like I said, I teach a class on mindfulness, so I teach this technique a lot, and people seem to like having just something a little portable. So this is box breathing, and I'll invite you to join me in it if you would like to. You don't have to. But what I would encourage you to do is just breathe quickly, like set yourself up in a position that feels comfortable so you can feel like a little bit relaxed. And maybe let's just like take a deep inhale and a deep exhale and just be like, okay, we're here. For the next hour-ish, you don't really have to do anything except for listen to us. And then let's just exhale all the air out. If you feel comfortable closing your eyes, you can. If you'd rather not, you can just let your eyelids be heavy, let your gaze be soft on the floor. And all we're going to do is we're going to inhale for a count of 4, hold our breath for a count of 4, exhale for a count of 4, and then hold with an empty lungs for a count of 4. So exhaling everything out. And now with me, inhale, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, hold, 2, 3, 4. One more time, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, and hold, 2, 3, 4. All right. Well, so hopefully if anyone was feeling like a little shaky and nervous, some of those feelings are feeling a little more settled. We've all arrived here, and that's something you can do anytime, and nobody needs to know. So you could take that one with you. All right. So let's introduce a little bit who we are. our student services office, and then Professor DiGennaro will talk a little bit about her office. So Chelsea and I are colleagues. We work together in student services. Like I said, I'm the Director of Inclusion and Wellness, and Chelsea is the Director of Accessible Education. We work with our Dean of Students, Anik Kirshen, and our Senior Director of Student Services, Kyle Valenti. And our office, we have some more colleagues that we'll show you in a minute too, but our office is really kind of the first stop. Like if someone doesn't know who to ask, you have a question and you're like, I'm not really sure, come to one of us. We all have, you can book me pages, so you can find an appointment with any of us. So we all do a lot of similar things as far as like academic advising, chatting with people about any personal issues that might be getting in the way of their academics, choosing classes, wondering about, are there certain student organizations you might want to join, sort of finding your people kind of questions, if that's something that's like not as obvious. So just sort of the first stop if you don't know who is the best resource. And then Chelsea, if you'll show the rest of our office. Hannah Chang also does similar work to us. She's our Assistant Director of Student Services. Amanda Tran is our exams administrator. So our office also administers exams. So we are also the people you would go to with questions about that. And then Levi Cohen is our wonderful office administrator, who's a great person to just stop into our office. He has a big candy bowl. You can grab some candy, stickers, any of those things. So we also do wellness programming. So Hannah runs a drop-in Mindful Monday. So just like a half an hour during the lunch hour on Mondays. We also organize a mental health awareness and wellness week in the fall, where we have different optional activities that people can do, just trying to encourage awareness and encourage folks to invest in their well-being during law school, because things can there are a lot of options, a lot of ways you can fill up your time, a lot of stress we can take on. So it's great to have sort of tools and opportunities to think about ways to kind of find some balance. And like I said, I teach a class, Mindfulness, Self-Care, and Belonging in the Legal Profession. We have several other classes that are related. There's another professor teaches a mindfulness in law class. There's a mindful conflict resolution class. There's a class called Satisfaction in Law and Life. So if you're someone that's kind of like coming in thinking like, I know this is a really stressful profession, I'm not sure, like, will I have the skills to kind of find that balance? We do have a number of offerings that you can take a look at. And with that, I think I'll turn it over to Chelsea to talk about what she does.
Hello, everyone. Sorry for those of you on the side, I'm hiding behind the podium. I'm Chelsea Yuan. I'm, like Emily said, one of the advisors in student services. I will also mention that all of the advisors in student services, we all practiced law before we came to this position at Berkeley Law. So I'm happy to sort of also talk with you for all the topics that Emily was talking about from the perspective of somebody that did go through law school, did go through the bar, did practice law in a variety of different fields. And we recognize that the world doesn't stop when you're in law school. So in addition to everything that you get to navigate and figure out here, there's also sometimes external stressors that happen. And there may be times when it would be good to talk with somebody. Supporting mental health, well-being, and balance are all priorities at Berkeley Law. And you've just heard about student services. We also have 2 law school psychologists who come to us from the campus University Health Services and are assigned to the law school so that law students are their clientele. It's free for any student, regardless of what your insurance situation is, and they can be a great first resource for whatever's going on, but also they can see people on a more regular basis. So we just want to make sure people are aware of that. And then there is a whole plethora of counselors and other mental health resources through main campus, University Health Services. In addition to providing academic and general advising to students, I'm also the liaison for students with academic accommodations. The law school, as you can see up there, is committed to providing reasonable academic accommodations to all students with disabilities and accessibility needs. Our goal is to ensure that everybody has equal access to the curriculum and the great programs that the law school offers. There's a department on main campus called the Disabled Students Program. That's the department where they will evaluate requests for accommodations and approve them. Once a law student is approved for accommodations, I receive a notification of just those accommodations, not any medical information or anything like that. And then I work with the students to talk about how the accommodations will be implemented at the law school. Accommodations can be granted for a variety of reasons and can take the form of equipment, services, or modifications to the law school program. Our office and DSP work together to support students dealing with a variety of issues, including visible and non-visible disabilities, such as physical disabilities, psychological disabilities, learning disabilities, chronic health conditions, and attention deficit disorder. Some law students previously had accommodations at other, academic institutions, but for many, it's their first time requesting formal academic accommodations. Students can also receive accommodations for recovery from short-term medical conditions like concussions or surgeries or broken bones. So I serve as a resource to law students as they navigate the accommodations process. I'm here to answer any questions at any point, either before you start or during your time at Berkeley. And if you had accommodations at a different school or an undergrad, you may have worked directly with your professors to implement your accommodations. We have a policy here of anonymous grading on exams, and that's for the whole law school. So, and we keep exam accommodations confidential from the professors because of the anonymous grading policy. So that's why the approved accommodations from main campus come to me. They don't go to your professors. So basically, we start off keeping all accommodations confidential. Exam accommodations are always confidential. Sometimes for classroom accommodations, we do need to loop in the professor in order to meet the accommodation need, and I will work with the students to figure out the best way that the student wants to do that. But the student's in control of who gets the information and how it's shared. Another part of my role is to support students requesting accommodations on the bar exam and the ethics exam that you will have to take in order to become licensed as an attorney. Those are both given by outside entities, which have their own guidelines and their own processes for requesting accommodations. So I meet with students to kind of review how those will work and support them as they strategize and gather their documentation. If you have any questions about the accommodations process, I'm happy to talk. Like I said, either once you're here or before you start, our office is open year-round, so we're all available during the summer if you have any questions that come up. And now I will turn it over to Professor DiGennaro.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to stand up. Just to get the energy going in the room. So one thing you might be thinking about and worried about is the academic part of law school, right? You probably have heard stories that law school's hard, or it's totally different than undergrad, or get ready to work really, really hard. So law school sort of has this reputation that can make it seem scary. So our job in the academic skills program is to help you find the tools you need to succeed in law school, to do your best in law school, and also to succeed in practice. So we're also thinking forward to lawyering skills as well as academic skills, and there's a huge overlap there, of course. So that's really what we do in the academic skills program. Our job is to demystify law school. I think it is pulling back the curtain on law school, right? Like, what are we doing here? Why are we doing it the way we're doing it? Why are the teachers teaching this way? Why are you being asked to read what you're being asked to read? How do all these pieces fit together? And then culminating with, of course, what are you expected to do on law school exams? How can you prepare for them? What's the most effective way to prepare for them? And then how actually do you take those exams? What are the strategies for taking those exams? So that's our goal, is to make sure that everyone has those tools. Some people are going to come into law school who have lawyers in their family and they can ask a lot of questions, but some people might not where you understand sort of this idea of like how to do law school, right? That's what we're here for. So how do we do that? We have a couple different programs for how we can support you. The first one is pre-orientation. So we have a program that takes place the week before the regular 1L orientation. So all incoming 1Ls will attend an orientation, and the week before that, the academic skills program does pre-orientation. Everyone who is coming in as a 1L is invited to apply for pre-orientation, but we keep it pretty small. So the question we ask all incoming 1Ls is there a reason you think the transition to law school is going to be particularly tricky for you? And it can be any number of reasons, right? So you can self-identify to us as what is it in your life, in your background, whatever, that makes you think this is going to be a more difficult transition for you. So we take the people who have told us they think the transition is going to be more difficult for them, take about 40, 45 students, nice small group, bring you all in for 1 week, Monday through Friday, and what we do is sort of mini law school. So it's like replicating law school on a very small scale so that you can kind of get your feet wet, figure it all out. We do kind of mock law school classes. At the end of the week, we do a mock law school exam. Doesn't count for anything, don't worry. It's purely just to give you that experience so that you can kind of know what to expect, feel a little bit more confident going in. The nice thing about having the small group is that you really get to know each other really well. So it's a really tightly bonded group. Everyone always tells me like my best friends in law school are my people I met in Creo. So that's a nice part of it too, is you already get to start developing that community, get to meet some faculty, get to meet some of the staff, all that good stuff. So it's a great opportunity to kind of get a feel for law school, get some of the nerves out of the way, get to participate in like a pretend law school class, and see what it's all about before you actually start law school. Get a jump on those skills. So that's pre-orientation. Throughout the semester, we also continue to offer 1L support in lots of different ways. So one avenue of support is individual meetings. So you can schedule an individual meeting one-on-one with me, with our associate director, or with one of our peer tutors. We have second and third year students who are peer tutors, we call them fellows. So you can schedule a one-on-one meeting and talk about whatever's going on with you in law school, whether it's, you know, it's taking me so long to go through the reading, how can I do it more efficiently, or this is what I'm doing to study, am I on the right track, am I way off base, am I missing something, or, you know, just like, I'm kind of lost, and I just want to check in with somebody. So any question about law school is fair game in those meetings. We also do workshops, so if you're more of a group person, which is totally me, I would never schedule a one-on-one meeting in my life, because that's not my personality. Like, I'm like the person who never went to office hours, because I'm like, don't look at me. So I would be more likely to come to like a big group thing like this and like sit in the back and listen. So if that's your thing, we do lunchtime workshops where we serve food, you can have lunch, you can sit in the back, you don't have to talk, and we will share, you know, talk about these skills, right? And we kind of go through them throughout the semester, talking about reading cases and how to review the information effectively, and then how to prepare for exams, and how you can make the best use of practice questions, and then ultimately how to prepare for and take law school exams, and kind of walk you through your semester. So we have those lunchtime workshops as well as the individual meetings. And then the last component of our program is courses that we teach. So I and one other faculty member, Professor Kristen Holmquist, teach classes through what we think of as an academic skills lens. And what we mean by that is we teach the same substantive material as the other sections of the class. So if it's a common law class, you're still going to learn common law. So you can keep an eye out for those classes as well as just another opportunity to work on those skills in a small class setting where we can really work with you throughout the semester, give you feedback on your work, things like that. I should probably talk about some of the actual, okay, we have them on the slide, some of the titles of the workshop. So how to prepare an outline for a course, how to prepare and take law school exams. We work with Chelsea to do how to avoid, and Emily when you're, Emily and Chelsea, on how to avoid burnout. So we do, we have, student services does a huge amount of work in thinking about wellness and making sure that this is like a healthy experience for everyone. And we view that as, an academic and professional skill too, right? Like taking care of yourself in all the different ways that you can take care of yourself is critical to doing well academically and to succeeding in your career. So we have that avoiding burnout workshop just to make sure you're pacing yourself, right? It's a marathon, not a sprint. And then in the spring, we try to help you digest the fall semester. So how to learn from those exams you took in the fall, like what can you take away from them and learn going forward. If you're thinking about adjusting your study strategies in the spring, what can you do differently in the spring semester and how to go about that process of self-reflection and thinking about what you want to keep and what you want to change. So we do a lot of that in the spring. We try to be pretty practical too. I don't think I listed it on there, but we always at the end of the semester do a workshop on getting caught up if you've fallen behind. So what people always come to me and they're like really embarrassed that they have this stuff is going on in my life and I haven't done the reading for 3 weeks and I'm behind and what should I do? And I'm like, no judgment. Like this is a judgment-free place. Like it's totally okay wherever you are. Like I will meet you where you are and we will figure out a game plan from there. So I've talked to people like the week before finals that are like, I've done nothing to prepare for exams. I've done nothing. And I'm like, I love it. We're going to get a game plan together. You're going to do this. And we do it. And they do it. And they do great. And so that's like fun. That's fun when I'm just like, wherever you are, whatever's going on, we will figure it out and we will get a game plan together. So we do a workshop at the end of the semester that's on getting caught up if you've fallen behind and kind of a game plan for going into exams as well. At the very end of your career, so we support you throughout 1L, support you throughout 2L, and then when you start thinking about taking the bar exam, we are there to support you for that as well. That's a long ways off for you all, but when you get there, there's programming around that to get you ready to take the bar exam. So that's kind of an overview of the different aspects of the academic skills program. The academic skills program website is a great resource. I have a handout here that has all this information, and you can grab one of those, but if you lose it, don't worry, it's all on the academic skills program website, and that includes my contact information, so my email address if you have any questions for me, and then also the link to schedule meetings with us. So if you do come here, we hope you do, in the fall, you're welcome to schedule a meeting anytime with us. And there's a online appointment system that makes it really easy to do that. The website also has things like resources for practice tests, free online study aids, so commercial publications for different classes and free access to those through our law library. Lots of handouts and slides from all the presentations we do. All of that stuff is on the website, so you can check that out. I think that's all I've got. Can we take questions, right?
Yeah.
Great. Well, this is our contact info, and we would love to take your questions at this point. Anything that you would like to know about academic skills, wellness? Yeah.
Where's your guys' office located?
So the main student services office is one floor above here. It's unfortunately, if you've just gotten here and you're like, I don't know how to find anything, that is just because this place is a maze. So the Student Services Office is near the Career Development Office. So Chelsea, do you have a good way of describing where it is?
You start at the registrar's office.
Yeah.
It's
280 Simon Hall.
Yeah, it's 280. The office number is 280. The one good thing about the building, which the building makes no sense and I still get lost, is that there's no doubling up of numbers. So we're on the second floor, yeah, and it is 280, and you'll get there. It's and you may make some friends on the way.
And then academic skills is in a different spot.
Yes, and my office is 340B in the north addition of the law building. So this is the law building, and then there's another building that's Simon Hall, and I'm on the third floor, 340B law building.
And you can always ask.
Yeah.
We get a lot, early in the semester
Nobody-
especially, lots of questions.
Nobody finds my office the first time without asking somebody.
And just to clarify, it is only one building. You'll hear about 3 separate sections described as different buildings, which
You don't have to leave.
Yeah,
You don't have to
exactly.
go out and go to a different building. You can just, yeah. Other questions? Yes.
What's the academic structure of like 1L as far as like, are we taking electives, are we taking mandatory classes? How many classes?
Who would like to take this question?
Do you want me to take
Okay,
it? Okay.
sure.
All right, and you'll correct me if I get any of this wrong. That's an excellent question. Yeah, and this, I guess, because this is day one and this is sort of first panel. So yeah, any questions, we're happy to try to answer. So first semester of 1L, all of your classes are going to be scheduled for you. You're going to be assigned what's called a section, right? And split up
Mod.
into mod. That's right. Here's
We call it
mods. Module, but they call them mods. So 4 large ones, and then you'll have all of your classes within that group. So you'll have 3 doctrinal classes, so 3 lecture-based a legal topic class, and then 1 legal research and writing class. Your legal research and writing class is going to be, oh yeah, there you go. So you're better to explain it.
Do you want to go for that?
Yeah, go for it.
You go for it.
But we have 4 supermods, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We just changed that. The confusion is that we just changed this. So previous to this year, we always had 9 small modules in the first year, and we've now moved to 12, which is a great thing because it means the class sizes are smaller. So we've moved to smaller class sizes in the 1L year so that, just all the great things about small class sizes. But that's why we're confused. So there are 12 small mods. I'll put 9 down here. 12 small modules that are divided up into 4 what we call super mods, so 4 large groups. And so you'll have 1 class with just your small mod, so a very small class, and then your other required classes will be with your super mod, so with 2 other small modules.
And then your legal research class will be half of your small mod.
This different group.
Yeah.
So your legal research and writing class is very small, which is
Yeah.
great because then you get lots of feedback, lots of one-on-one support.
And then second semester, you'll have 1 assigned doctrinal class. That'll be your supermod. You'll have the other half of legal research and writing, which is called written and oral advocacy, or WOA, if you hear that. That's what that means. And then you will get to choose the rest of your schedule. So that is something that I think makes Berkeley a little unique. Not every law school allows you to have any electives during your first year. So you will get to choose the other half of your schedule.
And our office, Student Services, we advise a lot of our students about what they might want to choose for the rest of their schedule.
Yeah, and how to plan their schedule.
How many people are there per hall?
So because we just went to, because for your incoming class, it'll be 4, the numbers are going to be a little bit smaller. I think where we were, it was about 40 per small mod, I think, for this year. So it's going to be less,
I mean, if we had
is my understanding.
It depends on the class size, which depends on how many of you decide to come. So if it's, in the past, we've had a class of around 320, and that would be 26 people per mod. So if we're in the 320 range, which is where we've been in the past, it'd be 26 people per mod and a little less than 90 per super mod.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be under 30. I think we're aiming for closer to 350. So
So it'll be a
maybe
little
like
bigger.
29.
A
Yeah,
little bigger this year.
under 30. Yeah. Yes, back there.
Given that there's like limited spaces in the zero-hour pre-O course, right, and that law school is different from most other social sciences in the way that it's taught and studied for, correct me if I'm wrong on that. Do you have any recommendations for things that we could do to kind of prepare ourselves for the first year? Like, I know getting the names book that gets recommended a lot. If you have any recommendations or suggestions?
Yes.
Yeah, that's all you.
Yes, absolutely, absolutely. So we do send out, everyone will receive a letter who's incoming with the name of this book, so I'll say it, but you'll get it again in writing. So there's a book called Cracking the Case Method, is the book we recommend. There are lots of books on how to do law school, so, you know, they're probably all great, but that's one we particularly like we think it's well done, we think it covers what it needs to cover, it's not too long. So Cracking the Case Method, and this is also, it's on the Academic Skills Program website. If you click on online study aids, in the first paragraph, I sort of say, there's lots of resources here, but you might start with Cracking the Case Method because we think it's a good text. So that book I would recommend. It really is comprehensive in talking about kind of this idea of how to do law school and what to expect. There's also lots of other books available for free through our law library on the kind of how to do law school. And so if you browse through those and you see one, once you're coming here and you have like a CalNet ID, you can browse through those and see if there's one that looks good to you and take a look at that. But I think Cracking the Case Method is a really good start. And then I think just attending, the ASP workshops, scheduling meeting with us if you have questions, I think that's all you need. I don't think there has to be like a huge reinvention of the wheel before starting law school. Like the study, you all have developed some good study strategies and they will serve you well in law school, even though the sort of study activities are a little bit different.
Oh, can I add one thing to
Yeah.
that too? If you're interested in kind of like what is it going to feel like to be in law school, a book that I recommend by someone who came and spoke here a few years back is How to Be Sort of Happy in Law School. Yeah, and it's a really good book, and it talks a little bit about the academics and how unusual, how law school is different in how, the approach academically, but also talks a little bit about just the social aspect and the sort of settling in and dealing with the pressures of suddenly being back in a more high school-like environment where you have lockers and everyone's taking the same classes, and it kind of feels a little different than undergrad. So that's a good one too, How to Be Sort of Happy in Law School.
So for the therapists, so there are, yes. University Health Services, which is just down the street, if you go kind of up the hill a little bit, has, and you can see on their website, they've got, I think it's close to 50 different counselors, therapists, psychologists. That's also where all of the medical, providers are for campus. And then the law school has 2 assigned psychologists. And to see psychologists, or law school psychologists certainly, is free regardless of what insurance you have. You'll have the opportunity, if you want to or need to have the school insurance once you enroll, or you obviously can have your own insurance. So I think and then the counselors through Tang are all
Yeah, I think they are
free
all.
for all
yeah.
students, right? Yeah.
And the ones that are assigned to the law school are actually here on site. So they have an office on the 3rd floor.
Yeah.
Thanks so much. Yeah, I guess I'm curious about resources, especially for public interest students, around kind of like building resiliency and sort of dealing with like the secondhand trauma of that sort of comes with a lot of that kind of like direct representation.
Yeah. I think I could take this one. So some of that is, so our pro bono program is great, and I'm sure I don't know if you'll hear from Deborah Schlossberg, who directs it, but so the people who kind of run our public interest programs. In particular, I would say Deborah Schlossberg and Sue Schechter are great resources to go to and just sort of talk about any questions that might be coming up. There are also some courses. So Sue Schechter, who directs our field placement programs, also offers a course on public interest lawyering, which covers some of those topics and brings in a lot of outside speakers who sort of talk about like how they have navigated those things. And yeah, I think that's other thoughts.
Yeah, I think Deborah has also brought in speakers for kind of like lunchtime events on exactly that, especially for the students who are doing pro bono work and doing direct services, things like that.
And then there's also, if you do clinics, so that's, different organizations, and it's for credit as you're working with a supervising attorney. It's part of the law school community. So same thing, I think they can be really good resources.
What else is on your mind?
Really good question.
I'll go first. So I went to law school here, and then I worked for a judge for 2 years after I graduated, and then I went to a kind of small regional law firm in San Francisco. I didn't want to go to a really big law firm. That was kind of like a litigation boutique, and did business litigation for a while, but I ended up specializing in attorney liability work and legal ethics. And so toward the end of my time there, I was mostly representing other lawyers and law firms. So it was sort of a really specific practice area. And even more specifically, the kind of work I did had to do with law firm bankruptcies and dissolutions. So when law firms would either go bankrupt or the partnership would break apart, and sort of how that works under partnership law. So it was pretty specific area of law, but it was great because it's great to have lawyers for your clients because they understand everything. There's not a lot of explaining you have to do. So they're really great collaborators when your client is a lawyer or a law firm. So I enjoyed the work and found it interesting, but I did not enjoy being a litigator. And then I came to Berkeley Law, and I actually originally was in charge of the pro bono program and the advocacy competitions program, so the mock trial and moot court competitions. And I did that for a couple years before joining the academic skills program.
So I think I practiced for the least amount of time of any of us. I also worked for a judge after I graduated. I clerked for the Alaska Supreme Court, which was really awesome. And then I worked in the litigation department of also a regional law firm, but in the Midwest, for a couple of years. And it wasn't a fit. One of the things that makes me passionate about the work that I do on wellness is I think had I had some more of these tools and skills, I might have been able to figure out sort of a path a little bit more forward as a practicing lawyer, but I actually jumped ship really fast and went into higher ed. I taught actually legal research and writing at the University of Michigan Law School for a few years before moving out here. And then I taught in the undergraduate legal studies program as a lecturer for a while before I joined student services here. So I actually ended up spending most of my career in higher ed, not as a lawyer. And I kind of wish that I had stuck it out a little bit longer in practice and gotten a little more experience and seen if there was something that would have been a fit. But yeah, again, I think that's partly what makes me so enthusiastic about the work I do now on wellness is I feel like there wasn't a lot of that in law schools when I was a law student, and I just wonder if it would have been helpful to me. Yeah.
I was a civil litigator in San Francisco for 15 years in mostly maritime law, and at a small firm, and kind of similar to what Professor DiGennaro said, I really liked it. I really liked the people, but I was like, I don't think I want to do litigation for another 20 years. So first I taught at UC Law SF in San Francisco, legal research and writing for a year, and then ended up transitioning to student services here. And and I really like it.
Yes, over here.
So I know one of the big selling points in Berkeley law is like the alternative grading system and how that, contributes a lot to like better just like student wellness, like less competitive culture. So I was wondering how, you all kind of, like what's your, all of your opinions on that, in terms of like how that kind of contributes to culture at Berkeley.
I'll just, in case people aren't aware of what the grading system is here, so as with, I would say, probably all other law schools, you're graded on a curve. So the grades here are either high honors, double H, honors, H, pass, P, or in some instances, there's a sub-pass. So you're still passing, but it's a PC. And so the way the curve works is it's 60% of the class gets a P, right, I think? And then
30% each.
30% H and 10% double H. So that curve is set by the school for classes of a certain size, which is most of the classes. And sometimes the really, really small classes might be slightly different percentages. But just to give the background, and I certainly want to hear what everybody else has to say, but I do think that Berkeley does have a really good culture of being collaborative and collegial and not competitive, and no kind of like backstabby or anything like that. People, if you miss class, you can ask the person next to you to share their notes and like that sort of a thing.
100%. I'm going to defer to you because you went here.
I did go here, it's true. I was thinking about how to answer this. I think that everyone who comes here is kind of used to doing well in school. And so a P doesn't feel great to people who are used to getting straight A's. So in that sense, I'm not sure that it makes a huge difference psychologically, but I do think it still feels better than a C. So if you think about if you would have gotten a C, but instead you got a P and 60% of the class got a P, I think it feels a lot better, right? It's still disappointing. I mean, just to be honest, right? Everyone who comes to Berkeley Law is a high achieving person. And so then it can be hard to feel like, my whole identity has been wrapped around being good at school. I might not have had other things in my life, but I always was good at school. And that's a lot of the people who come here feel that way. And then to not get the honors or high honors grade doesn't feel good. But I do think it feels better than a B- or a C might feel. And you also know that it's the curve and you're in good company because it's more than half the class got a P, right? 60%. So I do think it takes the sting off a little bit from letter grades. And then I do think it helps with employers too, because employers know, particularly in the big markets, right? Certainly all throughout California, certainly DC, New York, big markets all know our grading system and understand that a P, 60% of the class gets a P, and a P is not necessarily a bad thing. And so employers don't see it as a bad thing.
Go for it, yes.
How is GPA calculated, and is class rank public?
Class rank is not public. How is GPA calculated?
So GPA is calculated, there is a numerical value that goes with the double H, the H, and the P, right? So it's based off of your transcript. It's not like we secretly have your actual exam score and then it's going to pop up later. And you receive, I think they call it class distinction. So basically for the top certain percentages of the class, I think to 25% and maybe a third, but at least to 25%. You'll find out at the end of second year if you received one of those distinctions, if you were top 10% or top 25%. And then at the end of third year, and then I don't think they do it at the end of 1L.
Oh, no, I don't think so. But
Yeah.
also, there's a policy of you're not to disclose it, actually, except
so
for
everybody
clerkship
gets an email.
applications.
Yeah, sorry. So everybody gets an email once when it's distributed, and you can log into your account and see if you received a distinction, but you don't have any information about anybody else. Nobody else can see yours.
Well, and also, aren't you only allowed to use it for clerkship applications, and you can't use it for job
think
applications?
so,
Like, it's
yeah.
not something that goes on people's resumes. It's, I mean, I mean, your GPA, I think maybe you could
No,
put,
no,
but
no, no,
no.
because you don't know your
Okay.
GPA.
So just.
Because there is no GPA,
You send your transcript,
Yeah.
transcript, but it's very much an effort to not have
Yeah.
class rank be a factor
For
in-
anything,
yeah.
And like Professor DiGennaro was saying, employers know this. So some employers, when they're asking or they have a job application, it may say like, what is your class rank? And you just say, I go to Berkeley Law, and we don't have class ranks. So they know that, and that's not a problem.
Could you speak a little bit about your personal experiences clerking, and then also go into a little bit about the support that's here for students interested in digital clerking?
Yeah, absolutely. Should I start?
Yeah, go for
Okay. Well, I'll start with the support. So we have in our career development office, we have a full-time employee who's specifically for clerkship. So her full-time job is to support students on the clerkship path, and she organizes lots of, in addition to meeting with students individually, she organizes lots of sort of informational events that tell you kind of everything you need to know about applying, answer your questions, brings in judges, brings in former clerks to talk to. So lots of great programming around that, and she's always available to help students individually in thinking about where to apply and any questions you have. So I think the support's really great. I think faculty members are also really supportive of people applying for clerkships. We have a faculty clerkship committee that is focused on how we can better assist students in getting clerkships. So that's the whole focus of the committee is oriented toward that, and they work with Anna, the person in CDO, to achieve that goal. So lots of support for clerkships.